Every year in the American workplace, 2 million workers become victims of violence, and nearly 1,000 people are murdered. Workplace violence causes employees profound physical and psychological damage, and the loss in time, money, and reputation can cripple and sometimes destroy an organization. Workplace violence is a serious problem, and managers play a pivotal role in keeping the workplace safe. The Department of Labor, through the Occupational Safety and Health Administration, also known as OSHA, has mandated that workers have the legal right to work in a safe environment, free of hazards that could cause death or serious physical harm, and that it's illegal to retaliate against an employee for bringing up health and safety concerns. As the fourth leading cause of injury or death in the workplace, workplace violence qualifies as a hazard that must be addressed under the law. The following behaviors are considered workplace violence by the Department of Labor. They are disruptive to work operations and in many cases are criminal in nature. Bullying or singling out a person with abusive behavior, such as verbal abuse, profanity, vulgarity, teasing, or taunting. Harassing or discriminating against a person because of race or any other reason. Sexually harassing or sexually assaulting a coworker, customer, vendor, or anyone else while at work. Using physical or verbal intimidation or deliberately causing fear. Vandalizing or destroying personal or organizational property. Bringing unauthorized weapons into the workplace. Deliberately sabotaging work operations or equipment. Threatening to physically harm oneself or a coworker. Shoving, striking, punching, or kicking another person. Using a weapon to intimidate or cause physical harm to a coworker. This destructive conduct is not limited to just your organization's employees or isolated to your organization's property. It can take place anywhere employees work, such as a customer's location, and by anyone they encounter while working, like a sales or delivery person. Managers are responsible for both watching for these behaviors and encouraging the employees they manage to report them. The identity of employees who report issues should be kept confidential whenever possible, and employees should be informed that they are protected by law against retaliation. While there is no guaranteed way to predict or prevent workplace violence from happening, there are steps managers can take to make the workplace safer. Organizations must show that they care about workplace violence and that they are serious about preventing it through a clear, concise, zero-tolerance workplace violence policy. It's up to managers to ensure that employees read, understand, and follow this policy, and to apply the discipline outlined in the policy fairly and consistently. Managers should ensure that employees understand and follow every aspect of the organization's safety and security procedures. Additionally, employees should be given time to receive training on topics like conflict resolution, stress management, and violence prevention. When the work environment is full of fear, distrust, conflict, and poor communication, it becomes a breeding ground for violence. Toxic behaviors like bullying, harassment, and discrimination should be watched for and addressed immediately. Set the expectation that all coworkers treat each other with dignity and respect. Openly and honestly communicate with employees. Provide employees opportunities for professional development. Ensure that employees work in a clean, comfortable, and safe environment. Never play favorites and treat every employee in the same fair, consistent manner. Encourage employees to resolve conflicts quickly and fairly before they escalate and offer assistance when needed. Watch for the signs of stress and offer your employees training and assistance on managing it. Watch for the signs of domestic violence and encourage victims and coworkers to report problems. Reporting can be uncomfortable or embarrassing, but 27% of all workplace violence incidents stem from domestic violence, so staying silent puts everyone at risk. Carefully watch for the warning signs of workplace violence and immediately address them. Take all reports about workplace violence seriously by immediately launching a thorough investigation that is neutral and unbiased. Always apply discipline immediately, fairly, and consistently. Request assistance when needed from security, human resources, a higher level of management, or law enforcement. Encourage employees to report unfamiliar persons, suspicious behavior, or any persons, including coworkers, who are in unauthorized locations. Demand that any sighting of a weapon on work property be reported at once. This includes sightings at customer, vendor, or supplier locations. Insist that employees leave in pairs in high-risk neighborhoods or at night to reduce the risk of a robbery or assault. Encourage employees to report safety or security concerns right away. Immediately report to law enforcement any behavior that is criminal in nature or suggests an imminent threat of violence. Managers must be constantly on the lookout for warning signs and troubling changes in behavior. Some of the most important signs to look for include an unhealthy and unusual infatuation with guns and violent incidents in the news, extreme mood swings, paranoia, depression, or suicidal thoughts, holding grudges and blaming other people for troubles, the increased use of drugs or alcohol, a history of domestic abuse, threats, assaults, or other violence, extreme overreactions to criticism, and the inability to accept responsibility for even the smallest mistakes, a recent history of expressing rage, making threats, or announcing violent plans via social media accounts, repeated violations of work policies, a recent increase in absences and tardiness, or a decrease in the quality of work performance, a disregard for safety procedures, an increase in accidents, or an increase in needless risk-taking, a recent lack of interest in hygiene and personal grooming habits. Workplace violence incidents such as bullying, harassment, verbal abuse, and intimidation are also warning signs of more serious potential violence, such as physical assault or murder. Employees who display one or more of these behaviors are not necessarily on the verge of committing an act of workplace violence. However, when these behaviors are different from the norm, are getting worse, or are accompanied by threats and violence, they should be cause for concern. Because managers are the first to notice a pattern of absences, tardiness, declines in work performance, complaints from customers and coworkers, and other warning signs, they are in the unique position of seeing the big picture and noticing the negative changes that often characterize a potentially violent employee. Managers who witness troubling changes in behavior, threats, or violence, or receive concerns from employees must act immediately. Assisting at-risk employees with counseling or medical solutions could prevent violence, and alerting law enforcement in serious situations could save lives. Managers are often the first people called upon when someone is behaving dangerously or erratically. When managers encounter an emotional, irrational, or hostile person, they should speak calmly, never raise their voices, and offer to have another person moderate the dispute if necessary. Apologize to the person and sincerely listen to grievances. Never tell aggravated or irrational people that they are wrong. Remain non-confrontational by standing to the side and not directly in front of the person, and by keeping arms low and non-threatening. Never violate personal space with a shove, push, or punch, even if the person has become physically or verbally threatening. This behavior often escalates into a more serious situation. Employees who are assaulted should not fight back unless there is a risk of sustaining serious injury or death. A physical response could actually get the victim in legal trouble or make the situation worse. The best reaction is to leave the scene immediately and seek help. Active shootings represent a very small percentage of overall workplace violence incidents. However, their effects are so devastating that every manager must understand how to improve the chances of survival for their employees. Active shooters can come from anywhere and could be employees, ex-employees, disgruntled customers, or even completely random individuals with no connection to your workplace. Most active shooters are not capable of empathy or reason and are attempting to kill as many people as possible before they are killed themselves or otherwise stopped. The best strategy to survive is to run without hesitation as fast and as far away from the shooter as possible. If your escape is blocked, you are injured, handicapped, or are assisting an injured or handicapped person, then the next best option is to hide behind a large object that provides protection from bullets and shields you from detection. If your hiding place has been discovered, or you have no place to hide, then your only option is to fight. Without hesitation, attack the shooter using a sharp or heavy object if one is available. Fight only if the options of running or hiding are not possible. However, when you fight, it must be with aggression. Doing nothing will get you killed. Plan ahead and make a mental note of escape routes and objects to hide behind at locations where you work on a regular basis. Memorize your organization's active shooter emergency action plan so that if an incident occurs, you can react quickly and effectively. Violence, bullying, threats, and intimidation are not tolerated in any workplace. It's the responsibility of managers to enforce the organization's zero-tolerance policy for violence, bullying, threats, and intimidation. This policy covers workers, patients, clients, visitors, contractors, and anyone else who may come in contact with company personnel. Perpetrators of workplace violence of any type could face disciplinary action up to and including employment termination, and in serious cases, arrest and criminal prosecution as well. The consequences for turning a blind eye and not reporting threats are just as severe. Fear, intimidation, harassment, sexual assault, serious injuries, and even death could result. With over 2 million incidents reported annually, workplace violence is a serious problem that affects both the mental and physical health of all employees. Murders, assaults, bullying, intimidation, and threats all have a profound impact on the workplace. Understanding how to lower the risk of becoming a victim is the responsibility of every person in an organization. While there is no way to completely shield yourself and your organization from violence, managers play a pivotal role in awareness and prevention that could mean the difference between life and death for themselves and their employees.